Good evening, everyone. City Council is now in session. Please stand for the invocation by Council Member Butler Barlow, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Let us pray. We pray tonight for a safe and flourishing community, recognizing the serious challenges we face and continually searching for solutions. We pledge to work for a community where we honor and learn from our past, where our leaders make sound decisions for both today and the future, where we listen to and learn from our citizens, and where neighbors learn to work together and to care for each other. We ask for guidance in our decision-making so we will be good stewards of our resources, and we pray that this city of Suffolk may be a place where all citizens thrive and where all are welcomed and valued. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Freedom of Information Act certification is required at this time. Madam Clerk, please present the resolution for consideration.
Certifying the closed meeting of September the 18th, 2024, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Suffolk hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of Virginia law, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the City Council of the City of Suffolk in the closed meeting.
Council, a motion would be in order. Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Williams.
Second it, Mayor.
Second from Councilman Williams. Do we have any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We'll now move to approval of the minutes from the July 2nd, 2024 work session and regular meeting. A motion would be in order. Councilman Johnson.
Move for approval.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Johnson. Councilmember Butler Barlow.
Second.
A second from Councilmember Butler Barlow. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We have no special presentations this evening. At this time, we will consider the removal of items from the consent agenda and adoption of the entire agenda as presented. Removal of any item from the consent agenda would only be necessary if any member of City Council wishes to vote on a specific item separately, and a motion would be required. Questions and requests for information on specific agenda items can be addressed during the consideration of the consent agenda after the agenda speakers. Council, a motion would be in order. Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve as presented.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Rector.
Second.
Second from Councilman Rector. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Madam Clerk, do we have any agenda speakers at this time?
No, Mayor Duman.
Hearing none, please present the items for consideration.
Consent agenda item number 7, an ordinance to accept and appropriate funds from the Virginia Department of Transportation State of Good Repair Program for repaving sections of locally owned road segments. Consent agenda item number 8, an ordinance to accept and appropriate additional funds from the Virginia 911 Services Board Public Safety Answering Point Grant Program for the Suffolk Police Department.
Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, in regards to item 7, the city has received funding in the amount of $3,499,314 from the Virginia Department of Transportation State of Good Repair Program. The funding will be used to repave 6 road segments within the city of Suffolk, including Key Road, Portsmouth Boulevard, Carolina Road north and southbound, Whaleyville Boulevard, and Route 58. Adoption of the ordinance will increase the revenues and expenditures of the FY 2024-2025 Capital Projects Fund budget by the $3,499,314. There is a local match of $139,656, which is available within the Capital Projects Fund budget. Regards to item 8, the city has received $1,000 in funding from the Virginia 911 Service Board Public Safety Answering Point Grant Program in support of the Suffolk Police Department Emergency Communications Center. Funding will be utilized for training of our operators. Adoption of the ordinance will increase the revenues and expenditures of the Consolidated Grants Fund budget by the $1,000. There is no local match.
Okay, if there are no questions about the items, a motion would be in order to approve the consent agenda as presented. Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve as.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Williams.
Second it, Mayor.
Second from Councilman Williams. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
Motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We'll now move to public hearings. Our first public hearing is an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property in fee simple and/or permanent and/or temporary easements, either by agreement or condemnation, for the Speights Spillway Bridge Replacement project. Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Director of Public Works, Robert Lewis, will provide the staff report on this item. Robert?
Good evening, City Council. It's another good news story for us. We are getting ready to repair and take another bridge that has weight restrictions on it back to a standard section that would be allowed. This is actually on Turlington Road. The state calls it the Speights Spillway Bridge. It is there on Turlington Road where Speights Run actually spills over into Lake Kilby. Substandard bridge with a number of deficiencies in it. So what is this project going to do? It's actually interesting. We've been working with the city of Portsmouth for quite a while. Portsmouth has got some work they need to do to that dam, and there is a probability in the not too distant future they may actually rework that entire spillway structure. But until then, we've got a bridge that's substandard with weight restrictions on it. As a part of reviewing this, we've determined that we can actually get the best bang for our buck. We're going to go in there and close the road down, and we're going to take the entire superstructure off of that bridge and build an entirely new superstructure on top of it, leaving all the bridge abutments in place. That's going to take us approximately 6 months to do. And again, we had tried very hard to coordinate this with the other work that was done over the last 8-9 months, and we just could not get commitments from Portsmouth and DCR on the status of the dam improvement. So again, good news. State's paying the vast majority of that, and most of us are aware and familiar with that bridge. Again, like I said, we're just going to take the superstructure off the bridge itself and build a whole new bridge deck, rails, and surface on that. And with that, I stand available to answer any questions you may have at the conclusion of the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Before we open the public hearing, Madam Clerk, will you please explain the timing system?
This is a public hearing, and each speaker is asked to provide their name and their address and will receive 3 minutes to offer their comments.
This is a public hearing. Will the first speaker please come forward and provide their name and address? Do we have anyone present who would like to speak to this ordinance? Hearing none, this public hearing is now closed. An ordinance has been presented for council's consideration. A motion would be in order. Councilman Williams.
Move to approve, Mayor.
A motion for approval from Councilman Williams. Vice Mayor Ward.
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Ward. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Our next public hearing is an ordinance to amend Section 31-407C of the Unified Development Ordinance of the City of Suffolk, Virginia. This is OTA 2024-005. Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Director of Planning and Community Development, Kevin Wine, will provide the staff report. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. This is the first of 2 ordinance text amendments that we will discuss this evening, of which you are familiar. This first one relating to our village center zoning district, specifically the dimensional standards within the village center zoning district. Brief background here. In February, you all asked us to take a look at potential negative impacts to existing property owners as a result of the existing VC district dimensional standards. We took a look at that and provided you all with a report on those findings. Briefly here, some history, but the VC zoning district is only in certain areas of the city, traditional villages, maybe not all of them, but some of them. They include Holland, Whaleyville, Chuckatuck, Oakland, Sandy Bottom, and Hobson. This is a result of the creation of the Unified Development Ordinance in 1999, which created that VC zoning district. The intent of the VC zoning district, it was designed to preserve and encourage development aimed to align with this historic character in the existing rural commercial centers. Thus, they function like miniature downtowns, if you will. If you look really at Holland and Whaleyville, they were traditionally towns, and the VC zoning district was created in a way to honor that. So, as it relates to the dimensional standards and why we began focusing on that, there are no required side or rear setbacks, and the minimum lot sizes are relatively small when looking at the VC district compared to some of our more dense residential zoning districts. It's only 5,000 square feet. The maximum building height is also pretty high. Right now it's set at 45 feet. And there is no impervious cover ratio, which, considering the minimum lot size, could be pretty important for managing things like stormwater runoff concerns. Another challenge that we noted in that report we provided to you all, a lot of the development in these village centers occurred prior to a lot of the advancements that we see from a building code perspective. So a lot of current building code requirements exist that did not exist when these villages were originally developed. So you have, that one issue that you see pretty frequently is the fact that foundations are a little higher on the new construction relative to some of the neighboring properties. Other issues that we identified as being potentially problematic, however, falling outside of the realm of zoning, stormwater regulations, they're significantly more stringent for larger scale development than they are single family residential infill development. That's something largely outside of our control, as those regulations are set by the state. Additionally, septic system innovations have made a lot of development in these areas that was previously not practical for a variety of reasons, and the creation of mound systems have allowed for these developments to, or these lots now to be developed. They have their own problems, as we've seen from an engineering perspective, but that also falls out of the city's control and lies with the Western Tidewater Department of Health District and the Virginia Department of Health, as they are the regulatory authority there. So in approaching some of these concerns as it relates to what's observed in our villages, staff's identified what we believe is a two-prong approach here, both short-term and long-term. Short-term being, let's look at these dimensional standards. What can we do within our power right now within a pretty short period of time to address some of these concerns? And that's what we are here talking about this evening. Longer term, we continue work on the comprehensive plan update. And a key priority that we have seen time and time again in the tremendous amount of public outreach we have done is pursuing updates to the existing village plans that we have. They're very dated at this point. That we recognize that, we understand that. A key priority once the comprehensive plan is adopted is to dig right in to those village plans. And through that, we would identify other areas, other potential land use controls that we can contemplate as having a real impact in these villages. So this ordinance text amendment, what will it do? It will essentially separate non-residential uses in the VC, so everything that is not residential, including your commercial, so they won't be impacted. However, residential, we would break that off into a subcategory, and through that, we would create dimensional standards where they are lacking currently. One of those areas is the side setback. Currently, there is no side setback for residential development in the VC district. We are proposing through this amendment a 7.5 foot minimum setback. This allows for greater building separation between residential structures. We would create a minimum front setback of 20 feet from the street. This would also eliminate the maximum front right now setback of 30 feet. So right now, development within the VC is not allowed to go further than 30 feet from the right-of-way. We would eliminate that and then instead make it a minimum requirement of 20 feet from the front. We would require a 10-foot minimum rear setback. Currently, none exists. We would reduce the maximum allowable building height from its current 45 feet to 35 feet to more appropriately align with existing development within the VC district. And then we would establish a maximum permitted impervious cover ratio of 0.5, 50%. So 50% of the overall lot area could be covered in impervious cover. That's your patios, that's your roof area, that's any sheds, et cetera, but area that will not allow for stormwater to penetrate it. And then we would lastly establish a maximum permitted floor area ratio. This is the ratio of building square footage to the overall lot size. So the best way to think about this at 0.35 or 35% is if you have a 10,000 square foot lot, you would be permitted to have a 3,500 square foot home. So we believe that would make a real impact, especially considering we're not changing the minimum lot size requirement within the VC district. That would remain at 5,000 square feet. So there will have to be some real consideration about what that overall lot size would be. So here is what it would look like just in the Unified Development Ordinance. You can see we're breaking it up, non-residential versus residential, and we would have more enhanced dimensional standards across the board for the newly created category of residential, or subcategory rather, of residential. So as noted, you all have seen this before. This is a little timeline, but on July 2nd, you directed the Planning Commission to consider modifications. Shortly thereafter, we discussed those modifications and findings with the Planning Commission at their July 16th meeting of their Committee on Ordinances. Shortly thereafter, we provided you all an update, an overview of this proposed text amendment at your work session of August 7th. The Planning Commission at their meeting last month, August 20th, voted by a vote of 8-0 to approve a resolution recommending this language before you this evening for approval. And here we are for you all's public hearing this evening. So that does conclude my presentation on this item. I will be happy to stand by for questions at the conclusion of the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wine. Before we open the public hearing, Madam Clerk, will you please explain the timing system?
This is a public hearing, and each speaker is asked to provide their name and their address and will receive 3 minutes to offer their comments.
This is a public hearing. Will the first speaker please come forward and provide their name and address? Do we have anyone present who would like to speak to this ordinance?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Morgan Butler. I'm a senior attorney with the Southern Environmental Law Center in Charlottesville. Our address is 120 Garrett Street. I work on flood resilience issues in Virginia, and it's through that work that I've had the pleasure and opportunity over the past year or two to meet a number of residents of some of the Suffolk communities that are getting hit the hardest by flooding, including residents of the villages of Chuckatuck, Oakland, and Hobson, as well as members of other communities like Pewsville. And listening to the residents of the villages talk about their flooding challenges, A common concern we heard is that new houses in development are getting built right up against property lines and paving over natural areas and ditches that help absorb floodwater and channel it between properties, resulting in flooding increasingly being pushed onto adjacent properties owned by existing residents. The community members we've spoken with were quite clear that they don't oppose new development in their villages, but they want it to be done in a way that doesn't increase their already daunting flooding challenges. Now, while there is no silver bullet that will solve all the flooding problems that village residents are facing, we would like to commend city staff for developing the proposed changes being discussed tonight, as well as the city councilors who have been pressing this issue. SELC supports the proposed changes to the minimum setback requirements and impervious surface ratio. These changes should help address some of the ways that new residential development is exacerbating flooding on existing properties, while still allowing an appropriate scale of development for these historic villages. To be sure, these changes won't fix the flooding, but hopefully they'll help keep new development from making flooding worse. They're a helpful step in the right direction in addressing the flooding challenges affecting many village residents. In closing, I'd also like to note that community members have also been clear that those elevated mound septic systems that the planning director mentioned earlier are causing problems when they are built right up against property lines, and that they're generating runoff properties onto adjacent properties, much like the houses are that I mentioned before. Looking past the adoption of the amendments that are before you tonight, we believe that's an area that still needs further consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. We have our next speaker, please. Do we have anyone else present who would like to speak to this ordinance? Hearing no additional speakers, this public hearing is now closed. Council, an ordinance has been presented for consideration. Questions, comments, or a motion? Councilmember Butler Barlow.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to extend my appreciation to folks in the community and also to the planning staff for their hard work on this. It's been a long haul, but I'm very pleased tonight in the changes that we're proposing and wholeheartedly make a motion to pass this resolution.
Okay, we get a motion for approval from Councilmember Butler Barlow. Councilman Johnson.
I'd like to second that.
Second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any other discussion of the motion? Before we vote, I'd just like to echo Councilmember Butler Barlow's comments. It has been a long time coming, but I think we've made some significant changes in our ordinances that will help mediate the runoff that's occurred through considerable amount of infill development, especially in the Chuckatuck and Hobson neighborhoods. So with that being said, we have a motion on the floor for approval. Council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Our next public hearing is an ordinance to amend Section 31-406C and Appendix A of the Unified Development Ordinance of the City of Suffolk, Virginia. This is OTA 2024-006. Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, again, Director of Planning and Community Development, Kevin Wine, will provide the staff report. Kevin.
Thank you again, Mr. Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. This is another ordinance text amendment that has certainly been in contemplation for quite some time in an effort to solve what was certainly an issue for some small businesses in the city as it relates to our regulations for live entertainment. But we believe we found a decent solution that we will present as a part of this ordinance text amendment. But a brief overview on how we got here and what the main issue was. Key considerations as we developed this language included businesses within the city desiring to offer live entertainment as a part of their offering, regardless of what time they were providing that live entertainment, would be required to seek a conditional use permit and have that approved by City Council to operate specifically as a bar and nightclub. That didn't necessarily accurately align with what businesses were proposing. We had several folks saying, that's not what I intend to do, so I'm not going to seek that conditional use permit as such. I don't want people labeling me as a bar and nightclub. It infers something that is much more impactful than what we traditionally see, at least the majority of the time, when these uses are established. Another issue is due to the alcohol and food ratios established outside of our authority, but by the Virginia ABC, 45% of all sales must consist for restaurants and similar uses of food and non-alcoholic beverages. So true bars in the Commonwealth of Virginia, as it currently stands, are effectively prohibited. Thus, the need to more clearly label these types of uses was desired. And little reason to label uses within the city of Suffolk something that they in Virginia cannot be. Nightclubs are permitted currently with a CUP in some zoning districts that do not appear to be appropriate for them. These are primarily lower impact commercial districts like your B1, your O&I, including the Village Center district, and some residential districts as well, like the RU24. So we aim to recognize the difference between uses such as restaurants that offer live entertainment that is clearly subordinate to their primary function, to allow that live entertainment as that secondary function. We wanted to protect the compelling public interest related specifically to noise generated from live entertainment. Still certainly in our interest as the city to control noise levels during certain time periods. We really set out to define what live entertainment is. It's been debated before this body what specifically is live entertainment. That was a pretty broad scope before open to interpretation. We hope this clears it up by defining specifically what constitutes live entertainment to eliminate any assumptions or potential loopholes relative to how it may be offered. We wanted to specify the difference between uses that utilize live entertainment on occasion versus uses that operate as live entertainment venues after certain hours. And then lastly, we wanted to continue to require, we wanted to allow for live entertainment to be provided indoors in the vast majority of cases without the need for a conditional use permit, which can certainly be a cumbersome process for small business owners, provided it's done as an accessory use with another permitted use within certain hours. Furthermore, we wanted to take this as an opportunity to allow the city to not have to go through the conditional use permit process should it wish to hold live entertainment events. So, how did we accomplish this? We have added a definition for live entertainment as part of our Unified Development Ordinance, so that is clear. I will outline what that is for you all. We removed the definition of nightclub and bars. Nightclub and the bars and nightclub use classification, which is in our use table. And lastly, we incorporated these uses, the new live entertainment use, in our use table 406.1 of the Unified Development Ordinance. So live entertainment would be defined as the following, but any entertainment, indoor or outdoor, involving performances or delivery of entertainment by one or more persons. It includes, but is not limited to, musical ensembles, solo performers, including events involving MCs or hosts, such as trivia or bingo, DJs, karaoke, comics, comedians, and other theatrical acts when performed in a venue other than a theater. Operation of any live entertainment component outdoors still requires a conditional use permit. And we note that public agencies are exempt from these provisions. So, in summary, we would remove bars and nightclubs from our use table, and we would categorize what live entertainment is. Live entertainment after 10 p.m. Would be a permitted use, a conditional use, within our use table, and we would allow for indoor live entertainment as an accessory use to any permitted principal use within any district as a matter of right, meaning no CUP required, between the hours of 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. at night. We would allow for live entertainment after 10 p.m. or outdoors with a CUP only, and that would be limited to the B1, the B2, the VC, the CBD, the O&I, and the Fairgrounds redevelopment zoning district, but would not include the RU24 or the MUC40 zoning districts. Here's how that would look in table form here within the UDO. Here is the summary, but once again, this amendment before you this evening would allow indoor live entertainment by right until 10 p.m. It would require a conditional use permit for indoor live entertainment after 10 p.m. and all live outdoor entertainment. We remove nightclub definition while creating a definition for live entertainment and clearly identifying what constitutes live entertainment. And lastly, public agencies would be exempted. So this is something we've discussed with you all previously. July 16th, we had a similar discussion with the Committee on Ordinances of the Planning Commission. Their recommendation was to move this forward to that body. At their August meeting, we provided you an overview at your August 7th meeting on this proposal. And the Planning Commission, they considered this at their August 20th meeting, and by a vote of 8-0, they are recommending a resolution for approval for this text amendment before you this evening. That concludes my presentation on this item. I'll be happy to stand by for any questions at the conclusion of the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wine. Before we open the public hearing, Madam Clerk, will you please explain the timing system?
This is a public hearing, and each speaker is asked to provide their name and their address and will receive 3 minutes to offer their comments.
This is a public hearing. Will the first speaker please come forward and provide their name and address? Do we have anyone present who would like to speak to this ordinance? Hearing no speakers, this public hearing is now closed. Council, an ordinance is presented for consideration. Questions, comments, or a motion? Councilman Fawcett.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to move for approval, and this is a good ordinance that's coming forward to help some of these local facilities that want to do a little bit of bingo, karaoke, and those type of things in their organization. And it is a good guideline for us to follow and allow those businesses to operate and attract their customers to have an entertainment there. So I go with approval tonight, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay, we get a motion for approval for Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Rector.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Much like the Village Center changes that we just approved, this has been a long time coming and has always been a little bit of a thorn in my side that in restaurant or something that just simply wants to have a string guitar player sing during dinner time had to get classified as a bar or nightclub and go through all kinds of hoops or whatnot to make that happen legally. So I'm awfully glad to see this, and hopefully the downtown businesses will appreciate this change, and we'll see a little more live entertainment up until 10 p.m. And with that, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we get a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett, a second from Councilman Rector. Is there any discussion of the motion? Before we vote, I'd also like to comment, this one is a little long coming. I think it's something that will be a welcome change for any business that wants to come to our town that's in the hospitality business. If they have a restaurant, they'll be able to offer this type of indoor entertainment up until 10 o'clock without having to procure a conditional use permit. So they would be able to rely on that right when they were developing their business plan. And hopefully that will attract some more of that activity, especially downtown. I mean, we've been thinking downtown lately because we've got so much going on, but all the way across our city. So with that being said, we do have a motion on the floor for approval. If there are no other comments, then council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8 to 0.
Okay, that concludes our public hearings. We have no ordinance this evening, nor resolutions, nor staff reports. We have a motion to schedule a public hearing on the draft 2025 legislative agenda for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, City Council meeting, and a motion would be in order. Councilman Williams?
Move to approve.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Williams. Vice Mayor Ward?
Second.
We have a second from Vice Mayor Ward. Is there any discussion in the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
Motion is approved by a vote of 8 to 0.
Our next motion is a motion to schedule a city council work session for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, at 4 p.m. unless canceled by the mayor and city manager. And a motion would be in order. Councilmember Fawcett.
Move to approve.
Got a motion for approval. Councilmember Fawcett. Councilmember Bennett.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Bennett. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8 to 0.
We'll now move to non-agenda speakers. Madam Clerk, do we have any non-agenda speakers? And if so, please explain the guidelines.
Yes, Mayor Duman, we do have non-agenda speakers this evening. Each person participating under the item of business entitled non-agenda speakers shall limit their remarks to the services, policies, and affairs of city government and shall be permitted 5 minutes for the purpose of presenting his or her matter. Speakers appearing before City Council will not be permitted to participate in the following activities: to campaign for public office, engage in personal attacks, promote private business ventures, or use profanity. Speakers who violate these rules will be declared out of order by the presiding officer and will immediately yield the floor and be seated. Our first speaker is Wade Bieber, 5646 Godwin Boulevard, representing self regarding cycling infrastructure.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Wade. I am a registered nurse at OBC in the emergency department, and I like to ride my bike to work. I do so 3 days a week, and the most direct route for me is Godwin Boulevard. Godwin is a non-restricted access road, and unfortunately, I have to deal with the traffic there. The state of Virginia, their DMV, found that from 2022 to 23, cycling fatalities increased 125% in our state. The World Health Organization also found an increase of 150% from 3% of transportation fatalities to 8%. That's globally. There was a huge increase in the interest of cycling during COVID, and I was cycling before then, but I've certainly seen it. I've also seen a number of other, I think probably 4 people routinely commuting via Godwin Boulevard from the areas of Chuckatuck, Oakland, and so on, down Godwin into northern Suffolk, the area of OBC that I work in. I've been run off the road by dump trucks. I've had things thrown at me from vehicles. I've been accosted, and my safety's been threatened verbally and physically by vehicles on the road as a cyclist. And I also note that there is no signage, no cycling infrastructure that alerts motorists to the fact that I'm allowed to be there. I've had people shouting at me to get off the road, things of that nature, and it's really unfortunate. This is not a hill that I want to die on, but it's also one that I don't want to get off of. So I would really appreciate the addition, at the very least, of some signage. My personal preference is bicycles may use full lane. They're the white signs. Share the road is cool, but it's a yellow sign. It doesn't let them know that that's also the law. And in the state of Virginia and with the city ordinances, I am allowed to be there. Healthy People 2030, one of the priorities for our national government to improve health is to increase the number of people that use walking and cycling as a mode of transportation. And I want to encourage that and be a part of that. And I think by putting that signage up, other people will feel protected to do the same. I also would love a lane or a bigger shoulder, but I know that that's cost prohibitive and that takes time. So at the very least, if we could put signs, I'd love to see them every mile. And that's a 5-mile ride for me. So if there are motorists that are getting reminded every now and again that I'm allowed to be there, that would be huge. I ride in highly visible attire. I have flashing lights on the front and back of my bike. I wear a helmet. I try to stay as safely as I can to the right of my lane, but unfortunately I have to take the lane in order to be passed safely. If I try to ride on that line or on that shoulder, people are flying by me at a speed differential of 40 miles an hour or more, and it's dangerous. I've got 2 kids that I want to get home to safely, and I know that I'm making a choice by being out there on my bicycle instead of in my car. But I also know that I have the right to do that, and it makes me a healthier person. It's economical, it's more achievable, and all the other people that I see riding out there, a lot of them, oh, I love, that's for me, that's counting down, that's awesome. I've got so much time left. Anyway, a lot of the other people I see out there, they don't look like they're out there by choice. I think that a lot of the people that I see riding on Godwin on bicycles, I think they'd rather be in a car. I wouldn't, but they're out there because they have to be. They don't have a better option. And I think offering some protection, a reminder that these individuals, even though they maybe are in unfortunate circumstances, they see it, they're allowed to ride that bike. They're allowed to get where they need to go faster than if they were walking. And so, again, I would just encourage, I'd love some signs. I'm tired of getting run off the road by dump trucks. And I don't want to get hauled back to work as a patient after I've left because somebody decided to run me into the ditch. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say, so I'll yield the rest of my time. I'll be around. I can answer questions, anything like that. If you have any questions, I've been cycling in multiple cities for, 6+ years, and try to do my due diligence on the laws and things that are protecting me and that I have to abide by. And I'll be around. If you can point me in the direction of anybody that I can be in contact to with regards to any of these improvements, signage, things like that, I have a post hole digger. I can help. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Anthony Kramer, 110 Creek Lane, representing Self regarding property assessment.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I'm relatively new to Virginia and Suffolk. We moved here from Kentucky in February of 2023. The house that we purchased is new construction. And when I received my notice that of what our tax bill for the coming year would be last May, it did not show the improvement value. It only showed the property value. I'm not naive enough to believe that I wasn't going to pay tax on the improved value. However, where I'm from in Kentucky, we did a triennial assessment versus an annual. And typically, if you purchased a property in mid-cycle, your assessment would be based on the sales price of your house. I didn't get any notice of what our assessment was going to be until I received my tax bill, and I was shocked when it was $70,000 more than what we paid for the house. And further, 2 of our neighbors who have the same house, and I have to tell you that actually our residence is considered a condominium, even though it's freestanding. And on our side of the street, there are 8 units. 3 of them are identical. And the values were all different, even though we all purchased our homes within 6 months of one another. I contacted my appraiser, who was, unfortunately very professional, but not very helpful. Told me that my time to appeal had passed. I argued that I hadn't been given notice. We had to agree to disagree upon that. I did receive notice at the end of November of the proposed assessment. Again, contacted my appraiser. Again, was told the time for appeal had passed. At that point, I reached out to Councilman Fawcett, who put me in touch with Mr. Butt. And over the course of many months, many phone calls, many emails, Mr. Butt did agree that my assessment was skewed, to say the least. He indicated that when the factors were put into the computer system, it did spit out a number, and that number is what I was assessed at. But he did agree that that number, for whatever reason, was out of line. He issued an exoneration, and over the course of several more months, I eventually was issued a refund from the treasurer's office. When he issued the exoneration, he told me that he would flag my property for further review in this coming year, and that I would receive an adjusted value after that review was made. Didn't get that, so I reached out to him again around August, and he did issue me, he said he had thought it had been sent to me. I did not receive it. So he did send me a copy of a revised value, which I'm hoping when the tax bill comes out is reflected accurately. My question is, and my ask is that somehow we come to find out why my property values are not being accurately assessed in your system. I know Mr. Budd is a very busy man. He has to deal with all the properties across the entire city. I am not conceited enough to think that the actual city assessor needs to personally handle my issue, but I'm looking for some assistance and maybe a staff member that can address this, that will have the time and the authority to handle this going forward, so that I don't have to continue bothering him every year to get my property values accurately assessed. That is my ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pastor Larry Davis, 204 Cedar Street, representing Cypress Chapel Christian Church, regarding the 275th year celebration of Cypress Chapel Christian Church.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Larry Davis. I have the privilege of serving as the transitional pastor for Cypress Chapel Christian Church here in the city of Suffolk. And on behalf of the church, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to address you this evening. On November the 30th of 1743, according to the vestry of St. Paul Episcopal Church here in the city of Suffolk, 22 men were sent out to Nasmond County to survey the area for possible sites to expand the work of the Episcopal Church. Among the names of those 22 men are individuals who still impact our city today, such as the Norfleets, the Brinkleys, the Harrells, the Riddicks, the Lassiters, the Skinners, the Bakers, the Beamans, and the Roundtrees, just to list some. Historical records reflect that by 1746, Reverend Beckman preached one sermon on the site which came to be known as the Chapel on Cypress Swamp. While there was no building erected until approximately 1750, it was at that site that it became a regular meeting place of worship since 1746. Cypress Chapel is also historically known as the beginning, or one of the beginnings of the first churches to participate in what was called the Restoration Movement. Cypress Chapel was the location of the first regular session of the Southern Christian Convention held May the 5th through the 8th of 1858. This church has endured over 108 military conflicts. These major conflicts include, but are not limited to, the American Revolution, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the American Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Vietnam conflict, the Gulf War, and many others. For at least 30 years prior to this country earning its independence from Great Britain, this church has met, and it has been a place of worship and a place where people of faith have gathered to serve. On September the 21st of 2025, the church will celebrate 275 years of service to God, this country, and more specifically to this community. We first and foremost invite each and every one of you to be a part of that celebration. We invite the mayor and as many of the esteemed council members as possible to celebrate with us this momentous milestone. Additionally, we are requesting some type of proclamation from the city recognizing the historical significance of this church in the community and the contributions that this church has left in terms of legacy for the city of Suffolk. On behalf of the Cypress Chapel Christian Church, we have the privilege of having some of our members here this evening. With your permission, I'll ask them to stand. Cypress Chapel members. On behalf of the officers and the members of this church, we again thank you for the privilege that you give us to speak to this council this evening, and we certainly look forward to celebrating with you 275 years that Cypress Chapel Christian Church has made an impact on this community. I stand by for any additional questions that you have. Each council member will be giving a save the date postcard, and we certainly look forward to you participating and being with us. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Andrea Perotti, 2655 River Watch Drive, representing the Nansemond River Preservation Alliance regarding cement versus draining hardscape.
Good evening, members of the board. I don't represent NRPA. I'm a member of NRPA. I'm just somebody who shows up here and wants to share something with you. Prior to my coming here this evening, I have done a lot of study in an area that was relatively new to me in terms of the ecology of this area and ways to preserve what we love so much, and that is the lands around Suffolk and the Tidewater region. Quite a few months ago now, I was sitting here and a gentleman from Parks and Recs got up and asked about replacing the mandate for using a material in the building of certain projects for the city, for parks and recreation, that were to be permeable, able to drain water after a rain, as opposed to a non-permeable surface, such as a cement layer. And on the surface of that, it seems pretty benign, but there's so much more underneath that. I sat out and I wanted to make sure that I was really clear on the recommendation that they said, well, I don't think it'll make a big difference, and there is a price difference. Well, looking at the price difference, it's a price that you have to look at in terms of upfront price versus long-term investment. And there are a number of things that I came up, and I'm sure you've probably heard from members of NRPA and a number of other organizations. I have been working also with different groups from William and Mary and the different groups that look at water and water clarity and purity and all of those things, and they all came up with similar recommendations. So I didn't want to bring a skewed perspective to you. I like bringing, if I can, a solution. So I ran an AI program, and I asked the program, and at the programs I will say up front, I think AI has some value. It cannot be trusted 100%, but I have been feeding it a lot of information about the city of Suffolk for some time now. So I asked if it was a wise investment to change our approach along the shorelines in particular from a permeable surface in theory to a concrete surface. And it came back with some suggestions, and for the sake of brevity, I will read you just what their recommendations are very quickly, and then a summary statement. Okay, there we go. I said, would it be wise to have use non-permeable concrete in construction surrounding Nansemond River and its tributaries rather than porous material? And this is the list of the reasons of why it came to a conclusion. According to my AI, it said, no, using non-permeable concrete in construction surrounding the Nansemond and its tributaries may not be the best choice compared to using porous material. Here's the reasons. Number one, water runoff and pollution. A preceding speaker was talking about that in a whole different other context, but there's something to be learned from that. These materials are not standalone. They can be used in blocks. They can be poured. There's a lot of new materials that are coming on the market because of the advances in the sciences. But we also see in some of these communities, particularly with large roofs being tighter together, that we are going to be having more and more runoff in between homes, along streets. If we're paving sidewalks for a park area or a marina or whatever else one has in mind, if you've ever walked down a sidewalk in a heavy rain, you're probably up to your ankles in water. Some of these materials might be not only advantageous to help absorb, because it is an active process, not just passive, where the water is further absorbed into the material, and it might make the surface safer, therefore not being so limiting, not only for its use, but also considering those who might fall under ADA requirements for safety for those with some disabilities. So I thought that was an important point. The other is about flooding and erosion. Because you have more and more places, from roads to sidewalks to large roofs to different kinds of constructions, as well as the potential of building along a very fragile bluff or coastline, a Center for Coastline Resilience has made a lot of recommendations for moving toward anything we can do to support and facilitate the drainage, whether it be what they call rain gardens, where I've planted one between the houses that I have, because I could have used a scuba mask in the backyard trying to get from one house to the other because of our large roofs and the proximity one to another, which right now is 10 feet. So when you're looking at the collection and then the holding of existing water, tonight we might get 2 inches an hour. If you had a material not only properly graded, but also semi-porous, you would probably have less of a buildup and far less of an overall impact on not only parks, recreation, houses, and also our population. Erosion. I have seen and live on the edge of the Nansemond River, and our erosion problem is significant. It's a combination of factors, whether it be the action of the water, the storms, the climate change, or just even the constituency of our dirt. I don't have dirt anymore. Our builder basically took it away and left me a lot of clay. I guess he thought I was a sculptor, and he was wrong. There's a heat effect. A heat effect is predominant with concrete, and I will just mention, having lived in New York and gone to school there at some point, the difference in the temperature walking down a city street versus a country walk, we're all familiar with. But if you're thinking of it in terms of a park and recreation, where you have children, older people, as well as a much hotter climate in our region, the investment in something more porous would possibly lower significantly the amount of ambient temperature for those people walking along those sidewalks. I think it's a consideration.
I'm sorry. That concludes your time. Take a couple seconds to wrap it up.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So heat effect, heat island, we have problems with that. And the also thing is it impacts water quality, and I'm strongly recommending we look at stuff that drains. I would appreciate your time, and I hope you make that decision, and I think we could all be very creative in how we could use it better. All right, thank you.
Our final speaker is Selena Thornton Manuel, 1921 Piedmont Road, representing the Parkside at Bennett's Creek Homeowners Association regarding botched tree cutting along Bennett's Creek Road, trash can replacement, and glow fiber.
Hey, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. I'm just here tonight to be on record from following up with the emails and the phone calls that's been made over the past couple weeks and today. First, I want to start off with the botched tree job that was done along Bennett's Creek Park Road by Dominion. And we've sent several emails and phone calls, and we hope that you follow up on what took place with those trees and the way they was cut back from the power lines. The next thing is, for the record, trash can replacements. We have a couple homeowners. Trash cans has been left out on the street now for a couple weeks. They saying they've been trying to get in touch with Public Works to get the trash cans replaced. So I just want that to be on record. And last thing is glow fiber. We hope to see y'all back into our community to finish up the project, but we also want it to be done correctly. I followed up with glow fiber representative that they're waiting on locators from the city. But we hope to see them back out there to do a good job and not what recently happened last week with suspected gas line leak. So we hope that you take a look at what's going on with glow fiber. But I want to say one last thing. Taste of Suffolk was great. It was a great event. So I just want to make sure that's on the record too. Thank you and have a good night.
That concludes the speakers, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any new business at the time, any additions to tonight's agenda?
Yes, we do. The following individuals have been nominated for appointment to the respective boards and commissions. Wendy Terry as the parent representative on the Community Policy and Management Team. Councilmember Williams as the voting delegate for the Virginia Municipal League Conference Annual Business Meeting, and Vice Mayor Ward and Councilmember Rector as the voting member and alternate, respectively, for the Virginia Municipal League Annual Conference Urban Section Meeting.
Council, a motion would be in order. Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second from Councilman Johnson. Do we have any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, kindly record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Do we have any new business any council members would like to bring before council for consideration? Hearing none, we'll move to announcements and comments. And at this time, I'll ask if Media and Community Relations Director Jennifer Moore has any announcements.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager. I'll start the announcements off this evening with exciting news from the Economic Development Department. They are pleased to announce 2 ribbon cuttings events held in Suffolk. The first being ESCA, a renowned 140-year-old manufacturer based in the Netherlands who specializes in manufacturing solid board used in packaging for cosmetics, perfume, and other luxury goods, as well as hard-covered books and board games. They cut the ribbon on September 10th. And just yesterday, the historic Suffolk Towers was transformed into the new Elliott Apartments. Originally built in 1925 during the peak of Suffolk's peanut industry, the Elliott has undergone a significant transformation while preserving its historic character. The building, which has faced challenges, including 2 fires in 2021, now features 45 contemporary apartment homes ranging from studio to 2-bedroom units. And downtown has been very busy this past week with the Taste of Suffolk, having another successful event. This year's event may have been the biggest yet, with thousands of attendees who came out to enjoy food, music, and local brews. And congratulations to Cucina Filipino Cuisine, who was voted Best Bite of Taste and took home the first ever gold fork. The Public Works Department advises motorists of the activation of a new traffic signal at the intersection of Manning Road, Northbrook Avenue, and Route 58. As part of this transition, the existing traffic signal at Grove Avenue will be deactivated, and drivers are encouraged to utilize the Northbrook Avenue at the new signal. Additionally, traffic on Grove Avenue will be restricted from making left turns onto eastbound Route 58. For more information on the Route 58 corridor expansion project, visit suffolkva.us. And Suffolk Public Libraries is excited to host Shelf-Bound Sound at North Suffolk Library. This free annual public library music festival will be held on Saturday, September 28th from 5:30 to 9 p.m. Highlighting local talent, both established and emerging, this event brings together a variety of artists, including Grass Maiden, Shormy, Lunaria Silver Dollar, and Evan Hanna. Attendees can enjoy the vendor hall, food trucks, and band merchandise available for purchase. For more information, visit suffolkpubliclibrary.com. And Suffolk Parks and Rec is thrilled to invite kids ages 7 to 12 to a fun-filled archery event on Sunday, October 6th from 3 to 6 p.m. at Lone Star Lake Parks. Whether you are an experienced archer or a beginner, there is something for everyone. Kids will enjoy a day of skill building, friendly competition, and lots of smiles. All equipment is provided. Just bring your enthusiasm and a desire to hit the bullseye. Admission is $5. For more information, visit suffolkparksandrec.com. And Suffolk Tourism invites you to join in the celebration of the 50th anniversary festival of the Great Dismal Swamp National Refuge this Saturday, September 21st, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the new Jericho Lane Trailhead. Experience free, family-friendly activities, nature walks, educational programs, biking tours, and more. Please note that reservations are necessary for all guided tours. For more information, visit suffolkva.com. And the City of Suffolk Public Safety Committee would like to remind all citizens of the Public Safety Portal. This online platform empowers our citizens to share their suggestions on community safety improvements and public safety matters. Users of the portal will also have an option to submit anonymously. We do want to remind residents, however, that this portal is not intended for reporting criminal activity, and in the event of an emergency, to please dial 911. For more information on the Public Safety Committee or the portal, visit suffolkva.us. And of course, on your screen are the various ways residents can stay connected to the City of Suffolk happenings. Thank you and have a good night.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore. Okay, we'll now move on to comments by council. Councilman Rector.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a busy September, I guess, is kind of by nature a very busy month with everybody coming out of the summer and moving back into a more regular schedule. I want to thank the city for putting on their National Night Out Appreciation Night. It was a good night, and it was very well attended, and the food was good. And hopefully we're going to win a nice national award for our National Night Out, even though we've been promoted to a larger classification because of the growth in our population. I want to thank the folks at the Suffolk Christian Church who held a first responders cookout. It was very nice of them to do that on September the 11th, and I was able to swing by there and get a good hamburger and some great barbecue, and then also greet some of our police and fire people when they also came to have a little something to eat. And then last week I attended the Senior Services Legislative Breakfast, which was held at Westminster Canterbury down at Virginia Beach, and got an update on all the things that are going on in Richmond and around the entire Tidewater area as it affects senior citizens. And since as of September 3rd, I'm now officially a senior citizen, I've paid a little more attention this year to what they were doing. And then obviously this past week we had the Plein Air Art Festival. It was fun to walk around the city and see the different artists painting different scenes from all over our city, and then going to the event Friday night and taking a look at all that artwork. We're very privileged to have, an active Suffolk Art League and a Parks and Rec Department and generous sponsors who can make an event like that happen, because it really, in the art world, puts Suffolk on the map. And the artists that I talked to were very happy to be here and look forward to the opportunity to come back. And then I want to thank Sheriff Miles for putting on his senior expo the other day. It was last Saturday. It was very well attended. I think just about everybody there, except for the council people, won a very nice door prize. And we were fortunate and blessed to have Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears come and deliver a nice address. And, I thought, in a genuine act of humility on her part, admitted that she and her husband had been scammed by somebody who was threatening to do something to her or whatever. But anyhow, she told the story just to let everybody know that no matter what your position is, you just have to be very careful and be on the lookout, because there are a lot of people with ill intent who want to get their hands into your right back pocket and pull your wallet out and take a little bit from you. And then I attended the opening last night of the transformation of the Elliott Hotel into the Elliott Apartments. And it is nothing short of amazing what they have done with that building, and the amount of the features, particularly down in the lobby area, that they were able to maintain from the original way that that hotel looked back in 1924-25. And lastly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of William Goodman Jr. and Devontae Tillery, who were the victims of last week's shooting over on East Washington Street. It was a great vigil. Obviously, anytime somebody gets shot and is killed, it impacts the family, obviously significantly, and then hopefully, ultimately, the police are going to impact somebody else's family significantly when they find out who took care of that. And with that, we'll say good night.
Councilman Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I also attended the candlelight vigil on Monday for Mr. William Goodman Jr. and Devontae Tillery, who lost their life during the shooting on Thursday, September 12th. Again, I just want to let the family know that they are in my prayers, and we'll continue to pray for them. Also, to the public, if you know something, you see something, please let someone know. I also attended the grand opening of the Elliott Apartments on last night. Man, what they have done to that building is just amazing. It is a beautiful, beautiful apartment. Of course, I remember it was Suffolk Station. I mean, not Suffolk Station, but Suffolk Towers. Suffolk Towers. But they've done an excellent job there. On Monday, September the 13th, the Downtown Advisory Committee had its first meeting. I think that it's a fine group of individuals throughout the city, and I think they're really going to make an impact on what's going on downtown, because we have a lot going on downtown. So we like to encourage people to come downtown and utilize the Festival Park and visit some of the restaurants and businesses downtown. Like I said, there's a lot of things going on downtown. On Saturday, the 13th, I also attended the Senior Expo hosted by the Sheriff Department. And I must say that this was an amazing event. And kudos to the sheriff and his staff for a great job. The Taste of Suffolk, again, a great event. I had an opportunity to meet and talk with lots of our citizens, both in the Wellerville Borough as well as throughout the city. And I'd like to thank everyone again for stopping by my tent and sharing their views. And my word for the month is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And with that, Mayor, I'll say good night.
Councilman Fawcett.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. I'll echo some of the things that have been said. Hopefully, a National Night Out will gain some ground with that and maybe get first praise on that one. The Taste of Suffolk, I want to say thanks to Parks and Rec and all the volunteers that were out there because they did all the heavy lifting to get that festival up and running as they do every year, along with our police department, our fire department, and all those that were involved. You can't do it without a team, and they were all a team, and I appreciate that. I had a chance to go out to SK. I think somebody had talked about it, came from the Netherlands here. There were a business out in Chesapeake that wanted to find a new home in a bigger building because their expansion was just phenomenal. I was kind of taken back a little bit when I went into the building of how much that actual warehouse that they had consumed with their product. It was, stacked. And I was talking with them and they said, oh, you might see this product, but most of this product will be going and shipping out, which is phenomenal. They take quite a load in from the port and turn it around and send it back out. The remarkable thing is when they transferred from Chesapeake to Suffolk, they continued their productivity, never missed a beat. And they actually transitioned to Suffolk, and 90% of their employees came to Suffolk to work. So they really did a great job in their transition, and they were a phenomenal group of people, and I'm going to tell you, it was very impressive to see what was going on. The Sheriff's Department, I think some of them have expressed the Senior Expo, which was much larger this year than I've ever seen. And every one of those seniors that had come in there had been greeted and treated and had an opportunity to go through some vendors that were there providing them some different assistant things that they could use and have. They had a great meal that was provided to them. And I got to echo out with my other council members that Lieutenant Governor Winston Sears was there, and she was phenomenal. She really put everything in perspective for that group, and they just loved her conversation. So for the staff at the Sheriff's Department, the volunteers, there was a lot of volunteers that jumped in there to help those folks out to make that thing a successful, good part of the morning and a little bit of the afternoon. And all the vendors, thank you for all the vendors that wanted to come out and share things for those seniors. That was a great event. Looking forward to it next year. It's going to be bigger next year, as I hear, than maybe this year. So with that, I'm looking forward to it. As I did, as some of the other council members last night attended the ribbon cutting for the new Elliott, we call it the first skyscraper over here in downtown Suffolk, which I had a chance to go in the studios and some of the apartments and the renovation that had been done in that building. And I think Leotis Williams, Councilman Williams alluded to it. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was just, from where it had been and had been neglected over years to where it is now was just fantastic. I mean, they've done a great job there. It's going to be a great home for 45 different occupants that want to go there and call it a place to live. It's just a great thing to do. I did also attend the United We Stand prayer vigil for the two gentlemen that were passed away during the tragic event of the shooting that occurred in this city, which is, to me, is deplorable and disgraceful when a shooting occurs and someone's life is taken. These gentlemen were very young. They're never going to have a chance to explore life. Their children are not going to have a dad that comes home to them. And I think Mr. Goodman said probably one thing that kind of resonated out, that he had spoken to the crowd and said, when you take that gun out and you pull that trigger and that bullet leaves, it's not coming back. And it's a horrible tragedy that should never happen in this city. And I will echo the same thing as Councilman Williams. If you know anything, anybody out there that's listening, if you know anything at all, say something. And that's a hard thing to do, but you got to stand up and be heard so that we can bring some kind of closure to these families, because this is just a senseless act. So anyway, I want to say thank you to our folks. Our fire and police officers have been very, very busy these last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of things happening in this city that have been either from the law enforcement side or people that have been burned out of their home. They've been awful busy. Our first responders are the best that I've ever seen in my time in Hampton Roads, and I was a part of that fraternity, and I know them all well, and they've all done a good job, and I appreciate each and every one of them. I think I covered everything, Mayor. Thank you for everything, and I look forward to your next meeting.
Councilmember Butler Barlow.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to go back to the VC zoning now that we voted on it. I didn't want to talk too much until we voted, but I just want to express, first of all, it's been a long time coming to make these changes. And it was very frustrating to me that it took as long as it did, but I know we have a process, and I appreciate the fact that the process has worked. So I want to thank the members of especially the Oakland community for their persistence in asking for this. I want to thank the manager and the city attorney for helping me figure out which way to go on this. And to the staff, most especially, they've gone home, but doing the hard work to figure out what would be the most impactful changes. And I know that this is not going to be a complete solution, and I know that it's too late in some instances, but I'm hoping that this is going to be a really positive step in the right direction in making some of our older communities develop in a way that makes sense. So I appreciate everyone's affirmative vote on this, and hope that we're going to see some positive changes. Second thing, the Plein Air Festival. I hated to miss Taste of Suffolk last weekend, but we had the artists at our farm Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're not used to company. So we had a lot of cars and a lot of folks wandering around the farm, which is very exciting, and to see, what they chose to paint. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to try to get over to the Art Center and see some of the paintings, because I didn't get to see that Friday night. But what a fun event, and what a great, everybody that I talked to, the artists loved being here. They were from all over the place. I mean, all over the country, really. And what a wonderful event for the city. And we enjoyed being one of the painting locations for the first time. I attended the Elliott ribbon cutting last night. And what I would like to say about that, it was a wonderful 100-year-old building. And I hope that that is a trend that more and more companies will be willing to do that, take an old structure in our city and rehab it and turn it into something that's usable in our modern times. I think that's a wonderful, positive model, and that we should encourage more of that sort of thing. We have a lot of empty spaces that could be improved and turned into something as beautiful and as functional as that. Wade, on your bicycle, I hope you saw in the announcements the Public Safety Committee. Okay, good, you got that. If you have something that you think is a matter of public safety, you can go on that tab, also on the Public Works site. If you have something you want to report, it's a good way to get in touch with city staff to let them know if you have something on your mind, to put your input. And maybe that might apply to permeable surfaces as well. Yeah. And also, I wanted to thank the Cypress Chapel. My husband's grandparents were Roundtrees, so welcome, and thanks for advance notice. Hopefully, we'll get out there next year for that celebration. That's an amazing accomplishment. 1, 2, 3, 4, I got everything numbered. Lastly, because I just always have to do this, it's harvest season. Folks are picking corn, field corn. We're going to be into peanuts and then cotton and soybeans quickly. And as you all know, this means there's a lot of great big equipment on the roads. And as I say all the time, we're not going very far. We're usually going to be out of your way quick. Slow down, be patient, enjoy the scenery. And we're growing food for everybody and clothing. So give us a little space. We'll get out of your way in a minute. And everybody be careful. And tell my farmer friends I wish you a safe, bountiful, and quick harvest season if we can get this weird weather event out of here. And with that, I'll say goodnight.
Councilman Bennett?
Thank you. I'll just be very brief. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to all of you that came out tonight to sit and hear what's going on. It's good when we walk out the back and see all your smiling faces, even though you're not up before us with a lot of needs and wants. But it's good to be involved. And we welcome you to come at any time. That every first and third Wednesday, you're welcome. I'd love to see you in the audience because it makes me feel like you have a concern of what is taking place in this great city. And that way you'll be involved here and can be up front. When you're talking, you'll know what you're talking about and being involved with what's taking place. So please continue to come and be a part of this great city. And to the Cypress Chapel group, I want to say to you all, it's good seeing you again. I was down there for y'all outing that you had earlier, and that's when I met most of you again. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I look forward to your anniversary coming up. And 275 years, that's a long time. So you all have really stood strong in the Lord, and you've been blessed to have that many years of service to the community. So again, we're glad to see all of you here tonight to support your pastor, and also, again, good to see you. Also, I would like to say to the Goodman family and the Tillery family, I know it's hard with what you're going through, and with the young children that each of the ones that's deceased had. I think each one of them had 5 children. And one Tillery, I think his wife or friend or whatever was expecting their 6th child. And that is very sad when it takes a village to raise the family, but this takes a whole toll on that family and our city, because when some tragedy of this sort happens in a neighborhood, it hurts. And not just the family, it hurts everyone. So our sympathy goes out to the family. So we need to work together, be very looking in your community what's taking place. If you see something that you feel is not right, that's the reason why the police is on the job. Don't feel like you can't report things that need to be reported. And so where you can do it, if you want to be anonymous, you can do it without anybody knocking on your door or letting anybody know that you are passing information on. A lot of people are afraid to give information out because they feel like there might be retaliation against them for it. But you don't have to do that. You can do it without being involved where everyone will know that you are reporting something. In our neighborhood, we have to all look out for each other. We should know our neighbor. We should talk to our neighbor and work together in our community. We need to talk more to these young people when we see them, encourage them, and let them know that we are there to support them and help them in any way that we can. So again, I know you all are heavily involved with the community activities, So I encourage you to continue to work hard because it takes all of us to make this happen. So again, thank you all for coming, and we look forward to you continue to be here to help and do whatever you can for our city. Thanks again.
Councilman Johnson?
And not to be redundant, but I too want to make sure that the Tillery and the Goodman family realize that this community is behind them, and we will help them to continue living their lives with such loss. This world, it can't do this. And in this city, we look after our citizens and we look after each other. So it's so important that we not accept this as one of those things that just happened, but it's something that we can't allow to happen again. I'm going to be brief because we've said it all. Wade, you're cycling. Thank you for being here with that. And I think that we need to at least talk to our city about putting up signs. I respect that, and I think that it's something that on other roadways in the city we're putting in bike paths. So, and before too very long, Route 10 is going to be we're going to be making some improvements there. So, keep on. We'll only do it if you keep bringing it back to us. So keep bringing it back to us. Cypress Chapel Christian Church, I feel like you're family. So we're looking forward to all your festivities and all the things that are coming forward. So you know how we feel about you, all of you folks. Thanks for being here this evening. Taste of Suffolk. I should be embarrassed. I've never been to a Taste of Suffolk till this year, but holy cow. If you haven't been to a Taste of Suffolk, it is gangbusters. It's one of the best things I think I've been to in this city. It's just wonderful. Very, very festive. The people were there. It was wonderful. Everything about it was good. The Plein Air Festival, like Representative Barlow, I was also had painters at my farm, and we had so much fun with them painting all over the city. I think it's one of those things that as our city progresses into the future, we want to keep it coming. It's really cool. Artists from all over the country come here, and they pick the most desolate locations to go and paint, but they also bring back some really cool things. So it's one of those wonderful things of being in the city of Suffolk. And with that, I'll say good night.
Vice Mayor Ward?
Like I said, everything has been said in a way that I probably couldn't say it, but everything they attended, I attend, everything was well done, well organized. So my condolences go out to the William Goodman Jr. family and the DeMonte Tillery family. It was a showing that I haven't seen in a long time with the community about two young men that unfortunately got shot and deceased. And Mr. Goodman Jr. had came up to our council a couple of years, and he wanted to extend his business. And he was so determined and professional that, we passed it. But during the time, I would ride by and see his business, and what he said he was going to do, he kept his word. So when I heard it was him, it was like, wow, a young man like that had all the ideas and future to live. So, and I have a couple of sons that age, so it really affected me a little bit, knowing he was a businessman and a good businessman. I attend all the events, mostly the Elliott Building, Taste of Suffolk, Night Out, all that I attend. And I wanted to share this, that senior expo, they had so much energy. Nowhere in the world, they had energy in that place. It was excitement. You couldn't be nothing but excited. And that was a great event the Sheriff Department put on. I really enjoyed that. I'm so glad to see that the involvement that our city have and where we going. The future is here for us, and I think we're taking advantage of it. I also attend seeing Elder James Floyd Hurt at Temple Bethel. He was 105 years old. wow, 105, and even the mayor said, we ain't gonna make that one, but that man was, man, amazing to see that, but that's what God can do. So I really was impressed with always Temple Bethel, and I didn't want to miss that. I'm so glad that I went just to see the man and how he was everything was there. Everything was there. I want to mention something because they mentioned it, but they said something about if you know something, say something. And I think former Police Chandler, that's you there? How you doing? God bless you, man. I turned 70, so I can't see as far as I, like to, but thank you for coming. And Police Chief Bowie spoke. And you know how you said things and people say the same thing over again? But Police Chief, when you spoke, and I always listen. When Police Chief Chandler spoke, Freeman spoke, I'm gonna listen. But one thing you said, and they repeated it, you said if you know something, say something. And get to a community where a lot of communities is more words than action. And I'm just hoping, I share that with you, I hope you do exactly what you say you're gonna do, and you will get the response for the community in that manner. They cared, they came, they showed you they cared. So let's put that together and work with that, because that was a tragedy and it hurt all of us, not just the community, it hurt our city, because we seen the young man come here and what he was doing, so positive things for this city. So I really like what you said, and you know me, I might hold it to it, but I would really like what you said, and I think it was your fact. You should got away from the mic and you became a part of that community. Thank you again for that. I wanted to share something. I want to thank Dr. Buck and Superintendent Gordon. I had an issue in the school system, and it was ongoing, and I'm not going to get into it, but I like to thank them for taking care of that, because the issue that was the victims should not be victimized again. So what I'm saying is that thank them so much for taking care of that. It was going on about a year, but they took care of it, and I really appreciate that, what they done. Like I said, I went to most everything. The other councilmen, y'all said it. Ain't no need to me saying it over and over again. And I thank you all for doing that, because I don't even like to repeat. But I like to say thank you so much, and God bless.
Righty, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Most of it's already been said. There has been a lot going on the last couple of weeks, and we got a lot more coming. I told somebody the other day, anyone that says there's not anything to do in Suffolk just ain't looking in the right place. Go on the website. It's just amazing what we've been able to offer our citizens in the way of entertainment and other activities, be it the library or what have you. We've always got something going on. We had some significant ribbon cuttings, as some of the folks alluded to already. The ESCA ribbon cutting and Coastal Logistics Center, there was an awesome building. That's a company from the Netherlands. It's about an 800,000 square foot facility, of which they're using about a third of it. And it's not anything that I thought it was going to look like. I mean, it's a first class facility, and they are going to be a welcome addition. As Councilman Fawcett mentioned, they moved from Chesapeake to here, and they had a lot of other places they could go, and I think that speaks volumes for our city. The Suffolk Art Gallery had their opening of the Plain Arts Festival. Up until a couple of years ago, I was looking for airplanes. I didn't know what a Plain Arts Festival was. But anyhow, a lot of artists from out of town, went very well organized. When we come to the Cultural Arts Center and our the Suffolk Art Gallery, I mean, we've got a lot going there also within the city. The National Night Out Appreciation Event, I'm waiting to see what happens there with our new 100,000 plus category. On the 14th, we had the Taste of Suffolk and the second annual Sheriff's Department Senior Expo. Taste of Suffolk was off the chain again. We had some great weather. I mean, we've had some tough weather in the past. We had some real hot winds and a little bit of rain, but this one was almost perfect. We had a breeze, well, maybe a little bit too much breeze sometimes for some of the exhibits, but we had some breeze, a little overcast, very well attended. We actually expanded out some. I think Teresa, we had expanded out to where the car show was over on Washington Street, gave us a little bit more room on Main Street. I had to run I got Taste of Suffolk about 8:30 in the morning and had to get picked up, taken to the Senior Expo. And the Sheriff's Senior Expo, I mean, Bobby said they put on a spread. I don't know how they did it. They did not leave a stone unturned. Everything was perfect. I mean, the tablecloths, I mean, the napkins, I mean, just the food. They had enough door prizes. I kind of joked with Sheriff Miles because I was there to introduce the lieutenant governor, and I was watching the clock, and I've got one of these things. I look at the clock to make sure that I'm even saying good morning or good afternoon. You know, it's before noon, it's good morning. When it hits noon, it's good afternoon, and at 6 o'clock, it becomes good evening. And for some reason in my pea brain, it's like a thing with me. So it was about 11:45, so I said, well, we're getting ready to do good morning. I got this down. At least I'll get the first two words right. And Sheriff Miles started doing the door prizes. And he did a door prize, and he did a door prize. And he did another door prize, and another door prize, and another door prize. And I'm looking at the clock. And good morning became good afternoon before he finished his first round of door prizes, because he had about 300 of them. But just everything was perfect. The lieutenant governor got out and spoke. Then I attended, along with the vice mayor, the 105th anniversary of Elder James Floyd Hurt. And for 105, let me tell you, the guy really, really looked good, didn't he, Lou? I'm not going to look good like 2 years from then. But anyhow, it's, I said that I think there's an old adage that says, with age comes wisdom. That's definitely the smartest guy that I've had the opportunity to meet. So that was very well attended, great event. And then we had the Elliott Apartments, which everybody's talked about. But we got so much going on downtown. It's amazing. And Elliott, the renovation there is one of the game changers for downtown. I mean, it really is. With the Festival Park, the library, and that's going to serve as a catalyst to go all the way down Main Street to take that type. I mean, that just had to be a monumental effort to do that. And when I spoke, one of the things that amazed me is that that building had to be completely renovated. Really, nothing had been done to it for 35 or 40 years. It had just been through a couple of fires. So basically, it was gutted. And of course, I'm always coming downtown, work downtown. And I don't think we ever shut Market Street off. I don't know how they got all that stuff out of here and used that itty-bitty parking lot in the back to do it. But it's amazing. You need to stop by there and stick your head in there and get an idea of what's going on. And that's about it for events. Other than Monday, we talked about the vigil that was conducted Monday night, and I want to thank the Salvation Army for opening up their facility on short notice, which provided an outstanding venue for that vigil to take place, and recognizing the loss of life of William Goodman Jr. and DeMonte Tillery. And when you first get notice that an event like this is going to come, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the city manager, but if you're the city manager, the police chief, and you're the mayor, you get a little apprehensive. It's like, oh my goodness, how is all this going to go down? And I would tell you, my apprehension went away as fast as anything. I mean, within 5 minutes, I wasn't worried about a thing. The atmosphere in that room was something like I had actually never experienced before under circumstances like that. We had the family of the victims there. We had probably 150 to 200 citizens. We had law enforcement there. We had city personnel there. And the atmosphere was just heartwarming. There was nobody blamed anybody for anything. There was not a disparaging word. It was just a feeling of unity and a feeling in a united cause, that we're all kind of in this together. And it never made me more proud to be a Suffolkian, and more of an honor to be your mayor. I mean, it was, I don't know. I got home and told my wife, I said, it was probably one of the, if not the best function that I've ever been to. It's got to be up in the top 3. I hadn't thought of the other 2 yet. But it was just genuine, top to bottom, front to back, everybody working together. And that's what makes, that's the kind of thing that makes Suffolk great. And Suffolk is the greatest city in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You take that to the bank. I don't care what anybody says, I'm a little prejudiced. But the reason we are is because of our citizens. And if you walked into the room that evening, you'd have understood what I was saying. So with that being said, I would like to offer a quote of the night. I had a couple, but I just settled on this one. My quote of the night is, worry about your character. You got to think about this one for a minute. Worry about your character and not your reputation. Because your character is who you are, and your reputation is only what people think you are. So with that being said, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Councilman Fawcett?
Move to approve.
Motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett, Councilman Williams.
Second it, Mayor.
Second from Councilman Williams. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
Motion is approved by a vote of 8 to 0.
This meeting stands adjourned.